Imagine you're sitting at home, finally watching the biggest football tournament on the planet. The game is alive, the ball is moving, a team is building something. And then, the whistle blows. Players walk off, the screen cuts to an advertisement. 3 minutes later, football returns. Now imagine that happening twice, every single game, in every single match, across all 104 fixtures. Whether the stadium is sitting in 35-degree Texas heat or running on full air conditioning in Seattle. That is exactly what is happening at the 2026 FIFA World Cup right now. And for the first time, the people inside the game, the players, the coaches, the legends, are starting to say out loud what millions of fans have been screaming at their screens. Is FIFA using the World Cup to sell advertising space? Are these so-called hydration breaks really about player safety? Or is this the moment football quietly crossed a line it can never walk back from? Because right now, one of the most respected captains in world football has had enough. Fans are furious, ticket prices have gone through the roof, and the sport that was supposed to unite the world is starting to feel more like a commercial product than a beautiful game. So what is actually going on at FIFA 2026, and why should every football fan be paying attention? If you're new here and you care about what's happening in football right now, hit subscribe before we go any further. This channel is where the real conversations happen. Let's go back to where this started. Back in December 2025, FIFA made a quiet but significant announcement. All 104 matches at the 2026 World Cup would feature mandatory 3-minute hydration breaks midway through each half. The stated reason was player welfare, heat management across a tournament spread over 3 countries with very different climates. On paper, it sounded reasonable. The 2025 Club World Cup had been played in the summer heat across American cities, and players had suffered. Nobody wanted to see a footballer collapse on the biggest stage in the sport. That part everyone agreed on. But here's where things get interesting. FIFA also quietly confirmed something else around that same time. Commercial broadcasters had been given the green light to use those 3-minute breaks as advertising windows. Full cutaway commercials, not a split screen, not a ticker, a complete break from the live match, with the option to return 30 seconds before play resumed. 4 commercial breaks per game across 104 matches. That's a number that means something very significant to broadcasting partners and sponsors, and that detail changed the entire conversation. Because when you build advertising windows into every single game, regardless of temperature, regardless of whether the stadium has a fully air-conditioned roof, the argument that this is purely about player welfare starts to feel a little thin. And it didn't take long for the people on the pitch to notice. Virgil van Dijk is not the kind of player who talks for the sake of talking. The Netherlands captain is one of the most respected defenders in the world. He keeps his head down, leads by example, and speaks carefully. So when he walked into the post-match press conference after his side's 2-2 draw with Japan on June 14th, and he was asked about the hydration breaks, what he said landed differently. He laughed, and then he said it plainly. Going to commercials every time the break came around was not something he liked, not for himself and not for the neutral viewers watching at home either. He made the point that if temperatures are genuinely dangerous, breaks make sense, but applying the same rule to every game, in every stadium, with no flexibility, that was something he didn't agree on. And he wasn't alone. Jurgen Klopp, the former Liverpool manager and one of the most passionate voices in football, spoke out in even stronger terms. He described those 3-minute stoppages as nothing more than a gilded cage built for sponsors. His words were blunt and memorable. A football match, he said, should flow like a river. Instead, he argued, dams were being built in the middle of it so the commercials could get through. Football, in his view, risks becoming background music to an advertising show. Juan Mata, the former Spain midfielder, echoed similar frustrations. Even Mauricio Pochettino, the USMNT head coach, said he doesn't like it and called the breaks unnecessary. When players, coaches, and legends from across the game are all pointing in the same direction, it stops being an isolated complaint. it becomes a pattern. If you're finding this conversation important, drop a like and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep covering stories like this one. Now, let's look at the mechanics of what's actually happening inside these games. The referee stops play at around the 22-minute mark of each half. Players gather, coaches talk. On the pitch side, tactical adjustments get made. Germany coach Julian Nagelsmann admitted after his side's opening match that the hydration break literally helped him reorganize his team in the first half. So yes, coaches are using it. Some are benefiting from it tactically. But for fans watching at home in countries where football has never had mid-game advertising, this is a jarring experience. Full cutaways from live action are something they associate with American sports. NFL timeouts, NBA commercial breaks, the structured pause and sell rhythm of sports built around television money. Football was always different. The 90 minutes was sacred. You didn't look away. You didn't miss a moment. And now, at the World Cup of all places, that's changing. The incident that drew the most attention happened at the very first game of the tournament, Mexico versus South Africa. During the hydration break in that match, a broadcaster failed to return to the live feed in time. 40 seconds of actual football, live, real World Cup football, was missed by viewers watching at home. It wasn't a corner or a throw-in, it was live match action that simply wasn't on screen because the commercial hadn't finished yet. That is the real-world consequence of building advertising windows into a sport that was never designed for them. And the hydration breaks are only half of the story, because while players are frustrated on the pitch, fans are facing a completely different kind of wall, and it's made of money. The ticketing situation at this World Cup has been one of the most talked about controversies since the tournament began. The numbers are staggering. England versus Croatia was played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, one of the biggest stadiums in the world, and yet the official allocation for England supporters through the National Federation came to just over 4,000 tickets in total across all three supporter categories. That's roughly 4% of the stadium, given to the fans of one of the most followed football nations on Earth. The same issue affected Croatia and countless other national fan groups who traveled thousands of miles expecting to see their team, only to find themselves either priced out or simply unable to access the official system. Those who turned to the resale market found something even harder to swallow. England versus Croatia on the resale platform saw prices increase by over 100% in the days after the tournament kicked off. The cheapest available ticket for that match on resale sites was sitting at nearly $2,000 for a group stage game. Across the remaining fixtures of the tournament, more than half of the 92 outstanding matches are now listed on resale platforms with a floor price above $1,000 per ticket. The cheapest available ticket for the final is over $8,000. And here's the part that matters. FIFA controls the official resale marketplace. They built the platform, and on every single transaction that goes through it, they take a 15% cut from the buyer and the seller, not just from one side, both. Attorneys general from New York and New Jersey have already issued a subpoena over this. They've publicly stated that ticket prices at this tournament have far exceeded those of any previous World Cup. There are serious legal questions being asked about how this system was designed and who it was designed to serve. Think about that. A tournament being held in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, three of the most football-hungry countries in the world right now, and a significant portion of real fans, ordinary supporters, simply can't afford to be in the building. What does that mean for the atmosphere? What does it mean for the soul of the tournament? Subscribe if you want to keep following this story. This channel covers every angle as it develops. The human cost of all this is easy to overlook when the numbers get big enough, but behind every inflated resale price is a fan who planned a trip, saved for months, maybe years, and found themselves shut out of the system. Football has always had an economic gap between the game's elite and its supporters, but the World Cup was supposed to be different. It was supposed to be the moment where the scale of the tournament meant prices spread across enough seats that ordinary fans could still be part of it. That was the promise of expansion to 48 teams in 104 matches. More football, more access, a bigger celebration. What fans are experiencing instead is a tournament that feels increasingly designed for broadcast audiences and corporate hospitality rather than the traveling supporter. The stadiums are full, many of them, but the question worth asking is full of who? Sponsorships, broadcast deals, kit manufacturers. These have been part of the game for decades. Nobody is naive about that. The World Cup itself is a commercial event. FIFA is not a charity, but there is a line, and the debate happening right now is essentially about whether that line has been crossed. When mandatory stoppages are built into every single game, regardless of conditions, and those stoppages conveniently create 4 additional commercial windows per match across 104 games, the financial logic is impossible to ignore. What do you think? Is FIFA crossing a line with these hydration breaks, or is player welfare a legitimate enough reason to justify them? And on the ticketing side, do you think real fans are being priced out of the World Cup on purpose? Let us know in the comments. This is exactly the kind of conversation worth having right now. If this video gave you something to think about, hit the like button and subscribe. We cover every major FIFA 26 story as it breaks, and this one is far from over. This story is still developing, and as always, football never stays quiet for long. See you in the next one.